After being invited to a conference, 60 of the Final Rumble's wrestlers wake up in an unsettling room. They soon realize that they are now part of a sinister death game under the control of a cruel and mysterious La Parka. The Mystery Masters lie trapped in the 2K20 universe where the death game is held, and try their best to investigate their surroundings and escape. Hunk is the first one to go after a special pregame vote is created, where the audience is told to simply vote for their favorite. For those trapped in the death game, every week they are subject to La Parka's gruesome challenges, where losing means being put into an audience poll where they can be potentially voted to go on the wild ride. Suminam is nowhere to be seen. However, Kaname Date, Raiden, and Oishi take it upon themselves to investigate the missing wrestlers and the sudden death of the new wrestler, Tomatake Jiro. Business carries on as usual for most of the other wrestlers, blissfully unaware of the death game. Date learns that director Hideo, who is Kojima's old producer and is now helping manage TFR, has access to a broadcast of the death game featuring the missing wrestlers. He, however, explains that he is not the cause of it. They learn that Kirei and Dimitri are attempting to collect all 4 of the TFR belts in order to make a certain wish through their magical energy, and come to suspect the duo of being involved in the death game and work to stop them. Kirei attempts to gain the final belt currently owned by Adam Jensen, and attempts to draw him out by losing his belt to Ingerland, who he is working with under the promise of exchanging the belt back for a wish. The broadcast of the death game is made public, and the other wrestlers seek to rescue their friends. After talking to Ingerland, who exclaimed his excitement for the wish he believes Kirei will grant him, it dawned on Dimitri that he was being deceived, and Kirei never intended to grant him his own wish of finding Edelgard, and attempts to find Kirei in order to confront him about his betrayal. Adam Jensen had no excuse to not accept his challenge at this point, so they fought in the ring. However, he successfully defends his belt and prevents Kirei from getting a crucial piece for his plans. Over the course of the death game, Agent 47 is tortured by his inability to save Max Payne from the initial slaughter. His sanity slowly slips, and he begins acting as if he were Battler Yushiro Miya. In the middle of the death game, Toya Hachijo, the hero who defeated Kojima, is voted out, leaving the Mystery Masters in despair. But they choose not to give up hope and fight with all they have. Mr. X calls everyone to the broom closet and reveals to the remaining wrestlers that Tommy Wiseau was actually Rick Toffin, possessed by an alien parasite that resided inside the focusing stone that he had attempted to steal from an SC lab. Mr. X uses the focusing stone to cut off access to the Killing Games universe and end the broadcast of the events within, thus angering La Parka. Date and his team find Kyrie Kotomi in an attempt to arrest him. When Dimitri arrives looking for answers from the cornered man, a nervous Kyrie activates his last command seal on Dimitri and forces him to fight off the Coopers. When Date, Yu, and Raiden defeat Dimitri, Kyrie suddenly shows up to sucker punch Date. But before Kyrie can strike again, Dimitri rises up and goes after Kyrie, bringing him down before he's arrested by the team. While the Coomer gang are mulling about their inability to stop the death game, Delta appears abruptly and reveals that he possesses a portal in his truck that leads to the other universe. Date frantically calls for a larger team to assemble in order to save their friends. The surviving wrestlers leave where they were, only to find a room filled with the soulless husks of the participants claimed by the death game. La Parka suddenly enters the room with his minions and has them gun down Mr. X for breaking the rules before he can react, and tells the remaining wrestlers to go to the meeting room lest they all meet the same fate. La Parka explains that those husks in the rooms were their former compatriots, with their minds broken through the pain of being on the wild ride. Those who avoided the vote the previous week by Mr. X's interference are then put into hand-picked death matches by La Parka himself. These special matches pit the wrestlers against dolls of people who hold a special relation to them. The park reveals that the dolls were actually humans from another timeline, altered to have missing memories, and conditioned to be helpless to resist his commands. When all the matches were finished, the park reveals that the losers of these matches would be personally executed by their opponent, and gives each of the winners a gun. Unable to resist through inexplicable means, each of the winners of the death matches are forced to kill their opponent. The park then kills every surviving doll, making them explode in a display of fireworks. The survivors are then directed to a new room that opened at the end of the corridor for the final challenge.
The dev game participants arrive in a room, familiar only to Shuichi Sayara. The showdown between the last survivors and La Parca began. La Parca forces them through a series of deadly questions about the nature of a game and what they've learned during their time, and any wrong answer could result in death. Through their deliberations about the topics of the questions, many secrets are revealed. The true meaning of SC Labs. The existence of 5 imposter dolls under La Parca's control, concealed within the original 60 participants, where they would have caused death if they were not voted out. And the current episode where these events are taking place. La Parca explains that they're all actually under the influence of Team Rumble in their 53-season-long show, who induce conflict among them to keep the masses entertained. For him, this dev game is an act of rebellion and vengeance against Team Rumble, where they'd be able to go out on their own terms. He also claims that Sminem Corporation is a subsidiary of Team Rumble, and the ones responsible being the Bogdanov twins and Sminem. When the topic of Battler comes up, La Parka fumes with rage and reveals the true Toya Hashijo, and makes no effort to hide his disdain of Toya. La Parka personally wanted his doll to undermine his friends, while the true Toya watches, helpless to intervene. But the Mystery Masters only came out of it stronger. La Parka accuses Sminem of being a villain, and that Toya Hashijo is actually Hunk, Team Rumble's greatest enforcer. But the Mystery Masters refuse to accept such truth. Wrong. The final question posed by La Parka is: who is at fault for your suffering? While Sayhara is deliberating what answer to give, the stone that was given to Sayhara shines and reveals a vision of an alternate timeline where Toya was unable to defeat Hunk and Kojima. In that timeline, Sminem sacrifices himself to defeat Kojima and save the Mystery Master. With those visions of Sminem's sacrifice, Sayhara rejects La Parka's claims that Sminem is truly a villain, and argues that it's impossible for Toya to be Hunk, or to not have been their friend, Battler or Shiromi. La Parka refuses to believe that Sminem isn't the real villain, and reveals that his true identity is actually Battler after not surviving. He explains that after his defeat to Agent 47 on Rockinjima, he left humiliated. When the artifact he was carrying for his boss Sminem suddenly started glowing, he found himself in a new universe, constantly under assault by a raw, primal magic for what felt like an eternity, and wished for the sweet release of death. Before he could completely lose consciousness, Battler saw his old boss Sminem approach his convulsing body and take the artifact from him. To his shock, Sminem did nothing to save him from the dreadful fate, musing aloud that he knew that this would happen. The negative feelings Battler held penetrated another plane and manifested as all of humanity's evil. It is revealed that when Kirei first descended into hell, his goal was to free the caged beast by challenging Mr. Bones. As a reward for being able to beat Bones' servant, La Parka 1, he was able to recruit the captured Dimitri as his servant and given the power to select the next king of hell. Kirei, seeing his old friend's sad fate, chose Battler to be the next king of hell and to become La Parka too. Yet, Battler was not satisfied with the vessel he was supplying. And so, Bans reveals that another goal of this dev game was to find a new, suitable host body. The dev game would have tested the charisma, intelligence, and strength of all the participants, and the winner would be selected as the new host for Bans. "47 answers the final question laid out by Bans before Seihara could reply, and gives himself as the reason for all the suffering during this game. Agent 47 is filled with remorse for his previous actions, and admits he was only adopting a Battler Ushiromiya persona as a way to cope with the guilt due to having his suspicions of Battler being the true culprit all along. 47 wanted to believe that if he were Battler, then it'd be impossible for Battler to be La Parka. Agent 47 is given the opportunity to challenge Bans as a result. The two old rivals enter the ring to do battle once more, with everyone's survival on the line. Agent 47 is brutally defeated by Bands. The victorious ruler of Hell proceeds with his plan of initiating the Royal Rumble to find a suitable host body. Before doing so, however, he brutally murders Soya Hashijo. Over the course of a despair-filled Royal Rumble, Miles Edgeworth ends up victorious.
With this tragic end to the death game, the Mystery Masters vanished.
Dante and the other wrestlers from the other world finally arrive to a somber scene.
The missing wrestlers are nowhere to be seen, save for two men laughing in the distance.
Man, really was. I'm like